Okay, today I've got a translation of the 1979 Japanese city pop song Mayonaka no doa, Stay With Me, originally sung by Miki Matsubara and today sung by Cake Sullivan. Afterwards I'll do a detailed background of the song and I'll put a link to the lyrics below. Hope you enjoy.
I am me and you are you.
The internet has a strange habit of regurgitating cultural artifacts up from the bubbling and voluminous ooze of human history. In this way, curios that have been previously looked over or passed on, loved in parallel worlds, or inhabited worlds partially loved, somehow find new life. Matsubara Miki's Mayonaka no doa, Stay With Me, meaning midnight door, is one such piece of shimmering flotsam to have surfaced on the digital tide. The song started doing the rounds on TikTok in the dying months of the Annus Mirabilis of 2020. In an unprecedented year, it was an unexpected cover of the song by Indonesian Muslim artist Rainich that set the spark of the viral fire that spread to social media by uploading a cover of the song on YouTube on the 29th of October 2020. Flawlessly sung in Japanese by an Indonesian with almost no ability to speak a word of Japanese, the song perhaps represents a new watermark in the globalization of culture. But who can really say why these things take off? I like to see it as an act of nature, or divinity, or divine nature, like a cyclone or an earth tremor or a large wave. Perhaps it was the infamous hand of God, guided by then only recently deceased Maradona himself. The internet is a surging ocean. Whatever the providence, some of the appeal must have come from the cheesy yet undeniably soaring melody, the performance and the arrangement. Mayonaka occupies a late 70s, early 80s style jazz fusion, kind of America meets Rising Sun world, with a combo locking into a funky groove in consummate session muso fashion. It's got layers of muted horns, shimmering keys, extended harmony inflected strings. It also has a perfectly twinkling Matsubara eye in the film clip if you watch one of the most prominent selections doing the rounds on TikTok. Hey, it was the year of the plague, so you can forgive the greater online diaspora for frothing for a little razzle-dazzle. Of course, the song is placed in a larger wave of ironic nostalgia that has been rippling across the globe ever since Japanese and Western DJs started spinning the so-called rare grooves in the 90s. This is the music of the late economic bubble era 80s Japan. One part of what had rather uninspiringly been given the moniker of new music. Loosely tied up into an amorphous subgenre mirrorball called city pop. People started seeking out this music that was deeply influenced by American AOR, which is adult or album-orientated rock, depending on who you believe, which favoured sophisticated jazz and funk-inflected grooves with a smooth, upbeat vibe. This music formed a soft rebellion against the more hard-on-your-sleeve, socio-political, movement-orientated folk and raucous rock that had taken hold in the mid-60s. The new music was all about personal fortune and misfortune. The world be damned. Musicians such as Hiromi Hosono and his band Happy End, who I looked at in my last Songs in Translation video, and even more characteristically Sugar Babe, symbolise the start of the change in Japan. By the time Miki Matsubara released the song in 1979, aged 19 and a year out of high school, the city pop genre was just starting to launch into full flight. The music and words to the song were written by two jobbing hit makers, Tokuko Miura and Tetsuji Hayashi, both of whom who have enough songwriting credits listed on their Wikipedia pages to give you carpal tunnel just trying to scroll through them. Tokuko is perhaps best known as the songsmith behind pop megastar Seiko Matsuda's early hits. Mayonaka no doa was the only song she worked with Matsubara on. Many of the people Matsubara worked with describe her as being something special. Indeed, she was one of those people that, was good at everything. At school, she was a top student, did well at sport, had a charismatic personality that everyone was drawn to. Everyone expected her to go on to a prestigious university somewhere. To a local community surprise, at the age of 17, she courageously set out to the big smoke of Tokyo to pursue another of her many talents, singing. Within a year, she was scouted after jumping on stage for an impromptu performance at a bar, and was promptly armed with some hit material and sent to the studio. But she wasn't just an object being acted on. She was serious about her music. From the start, there was something mature, kind of adult about her. She didn't fit the kawaii sugar puff idol mold. She was undeniably beautiful, but had something of the femme fatale about her. A guitarist from a band would later say in an interview that her attitude to music, that you have to unflinchingly attack it head on, had changed his life. In short, she was a pro. At the age of 25, she started seeing many female singers around her start to recede into the background and retire, as if being on the downhill side of one's 20s was the time for a woman in music to quietly step down. Instead, Matsubara doubled down. She also began adding new strings to her bow. She started a band, Dr. Wu. She honed her skills as a songwriter and composer. She wrote theme songs and anime soundtracks. In this way, she spent the next decade and a half not just as a singer, but as a productive music industry creator. Then, shortly after the turn of the millennium and entering her early 40s, she sent an abrupt and startling email message to her friends. She told them that she was cutting ties, getting rid of her home phone, cancelling a mobile phone contract, losing her email account. Those that replied to the email didn't get anything in return. To many, it was like she just disappeared. She stopped making music. In a message to her brother, she said, "I've got a favour. Please forget about the years of my life singing and making music." To a close family only, she confided the reason for a sudden change. Her message to her brother continued, "I can't help but feel that the way I've been living my life has brought about my sickness. I must find a way to reset myself." She was an all-or-nothing person, a perfectionist. She made a clean and complete break from her music when she got cervical cancer. Much in the way that she had made a clean break with her hometown to set out for Tokyo as a teenager. In the words of Tom Waits, it was a train that took her away, but a train couldn't bring her home. Her new life mission was life itself. Now she was a warrior fighting disease. She was given 3 months to live. In the end, she proved herself, as in all things, above average even as a patient. From the time of her withdrawal from the world to the time of her ultimate passing, a span of around 3 years passed. In her last days, she confided in her father, "There are still so many things that I want to do. I don't want to die." He would later say, she had always been independent, but in the last 6 months of her life, it was almost as if she became like a baby craving her parents' love. On the 7th of October 2004, she rapped one last time on midnight's door, was admitted for the final time. But her music has not so much lived on as reincarnated. The music of the time has gone on to hold a strange fascination for many people throughout the world. Most notably, the sounds of city pop have been championed, if not fetishized, by the proponents of vaporwave that reference the stylized sounds of the early 80s. The more exotic the better, through filters, quotation, varying degrees of irony. But before she was a meme, Matsubara was a human. Before she was a femme fatale, she was a talented daughter. And before she was a sparkling eye, she was an insightful mind. And no matter whether she comes knocking on our door in the dead of night or not, she deserves to stay with me and with you. Next, I'll go on and look at the words, the lyrics in detail in Japanese and English. So if that's interest, stay on. Otherwise, hope you got something out of this. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Okay, next I'm going to go through the lyrics in Japanese and English and just compare them for the song. So it starts off with "To you, yes, my love, to you," which we could have just kept in the English. I've actually changed that because, I don't know, I think "to you, yes, my love, to you" sounds a bit awkward in English without any context. So I've changed it to "my love, I send to you my love, send to you my love." Doesn't really matter too much, could have gone either way. Then it goes into the verse, Watashi wa watashi, anata wa anata to. So, which I've translated as I am me and you are you. Now, the first thing to note with these lyrics here is the subject is pretty much always dropped through here, so we don't know who is saying what. So if I translated this literally, Watashi wa watashi, I is I, anata wa anata, you is you, which I know is grammatically incorrect in English, but that's all the information we have there. So I've seen other translations of this where people have said, you know, I said I am me and you are you, but I've gone with more somebody else is saying that. So in the next line it says, Yube yutteta, last night said, literally, last night someone said, Sonna ki mo suru wa, had a feeling. Once again, doesn't say who had the feeling, Sonna ki mo suru wa. But I think this makes it clear that the first line is something that the person singing the song has heard. So altogether that's I am me, you are you, last night I heard you talking, I swear it's true. So going for the rhyme with the true and you. It goes on to mi oboe ga aru. So I've got a memory of seeing kohi no shimi. So a coffee shimi is a stain. Ai kawarazu. So as always, just like always, nano ne. Yeah, just as always, eh? So that section I've gone. I saw on your grey jacket a coffee stain that I'm sure I'd seen before. So once again, it doesn't. The subject's not in here, so we don't know who's got a grey jacket or any of that. And aikawarazu nano ne, I've done as I thought, isn't that just like you, dear? So not a direct translation, but it gets across the sense of it. Show window ni futari utsureba. So show window, utsuru is to reflect, futari is two people, us. So reflecting in the shop window, right there I saw. So I was going for a rhyme with a coffee stain that I'm sure I'd seen before. So before and saw. I've left out the futari, but hopefully you get the sense of it. And then we're into the chorus with Stay With Me. Stay with me, Mayonaka no doa o tataki. So Mayonaka is in the middle of the night. No doa o tataki, doa tataku is to knock on the door. So knocking on the door in the middle of the night. Kairanai de to naita. Kairanai, don't go home to naita. I cried. Naku is cry, so I cried, don't go home. And this is one of the first places we actually get a tense in the lyrics as well, naita, so it's past tense. Up until now, there's not much that really tells us. All the tenses are left out. So once again, this is very sort of left open, all the lyrics. Partly maybe to save space, but also the songwriter, I read something online that said that this is something that they like to do. They keep things, they concentrate more on the sounds than anything else. So a lot of this would have been chosen just for the sound of it. Mayonaka no doa tataki kairanai de to naita. So I've done this as stay with me till the dark night turns into the morning light. I was knocking on your door and crying. So you can see that I haven't done this literally with Mayonaka, the middle of the night, knocking on your door. I've said till the dark night turns into morning light. I was knocking on your door and crying. And then it goes on to Ano kisetsu ga. So that season ga ima me no mae. So me no mae is before your eyes, before someone's eyes. Ima, right now. So, and then stay with me. So I've gone with the seasons changing right before my eyes. That actually goes quite well into English, that one. So altogether it's stay with me till the dark night turns into the morning light. I was knocking on your door and crying with the seasons changing right before my eyes. So you got a bit of a rhyme with eyes and crying there. And light. So it's actually, yeah, all sounds kind of good together. Stay with me. Kuchiguse. Kuchiguse is something that you have a habit of saying. Kuchiguse. Kuse is a habit. Kuchiguse o iinagara. So while saying something I have a habit of saying, futari no shunkan, futari no shunkan o daite. So futari no shunkan. So shunkan is moment and daite is embrace, cuddle, hold. So embracing our moment together, saying that thing that I usually say, mada wasurezu, daiji ni shiteta. Mada wasurezu, I still can't forget. Daiji is something that's important. Daiji ni shiteta, so to treat someone well, I would say. We don't really have a direct way that we would translate that into English. So altogether I've gone, I've put in stay by my side over here as well, and that was just because, as I said at the start, English takes about half the amount of time that Japanese takes to say, so you get all this space left over. So this was just something to put into rhyme with side, eyes, crying. But from stay with me here, I've got stay with me, these words, how many times must I repeat? So that's sort of in place of kuchiguse o iinagara, so saying while saying something I have a habit of saying. There's not really a good way of doing that in English, so I said these words, how many times must I repeat? I remember way back when how you would treat me so sweet. So the treat, repeat, and sweet are lining up there and rhyming. What I've left out here is the futari no shunkan o daite. I guess I've gone for the overall sense of the occasion of kuchiguse o iinagara, so saying the same old thing all the time, and I still can't forget, or I remember how you treated me well. Daiji ni shiteta. Treat me so sweet is how I've done that. And this next one is quite interesting. So we've got koi to ai to wa chigau mono da yo to. So in Japanese there's a lot of words for love. So there's suki, koi, ai suru, renai is another word for love. Horeru is to fall in love. So there's actually a bunch of words for love, whereas in English we've kind of got like and love, and then I don't know, love seems to be its own clear sort of thing, whereas in Japanese there's a lot more options, partly I think because some of them, would have come out in as loan words from China, especially things like I, which is I believe pretty much the same in Chinese pronunciation and everything. Although interestingly, when the Chinese simplified their kanji, they took out the heart radicals from I, so which is sad. They took the heart out of love. Anyway, so koi to ai to wa chigau mono da yo to. So that's a pretty tricky one to translate into English. I've just gone with love and affection, and not the same thing. So chigau mono is different. If I just use my dictionary I've got plugged in here, let's see what translations it gives me. So for koi it gives me romantic love, and for ai it gives me love, affection, care, attachment, craving, desire. Not sure about that last one, agape. So different nuances of love. And then it goes on to ゆうべ言われたそんな気もするわ which is the same line from the first verse gets repeated here. So last night you said そんな気もするわ I feel like you said, and so I've translated that as love and affection not the same thing. Last night I think that's what you said to me. And then it goes on to 二度目の冬が来て. So 二度目, the second 冬 is winter, 来て is come. So when the second winter came, 離れていったあなたの心. So 離れる is to part or to leave. 行った、離れていった、あなたの心. So your heart left. So when the second winter came, your heart left or was departed. And I've gone with when the second winter came, seemed like our love just blew away. So yeah, we're using winter, so I thought it made sense to use like a metaphor of wind. So our love just blew away. 振り返ればいつも. 振り返る is to look behind or look back. 振り返ればいつも always. So always when I looked back, そこにあなたを感じてたの. There, そこにあなた you を感じてた. I felt you. So always when I looked behind, when I looked back, I felt you. So how have I done that? I've done that as it's only now I look back that I see. I always knew when you were right there with me. So once again, going for the rhyme with me and see. And we're back into another chorus here, Stay With Me, but this time it's got slightly different words. The start's the same, 真夜中のドア叩き, so knock on the middle of the night door. 心に穴が開いた. 心 in my heart, 穴 a hole appeared in my heart. あの季節 that season が今目の前. So I've done this whole section as stay with me till the dark night turns into morning light. I need something to help me fill this hole inside. So it's not quite the same. I'm not sure why thing is in capitals there. I need something to help me fill this hole inside. So not quite the same. In the original it just says I've got a hole in my heart. I guess I was sort of giving a little nod to the what sounds like a kind of love rendezvous here with the filling up the hole. And the reasons and the seasons they change right before our eyes, just using the same line as before. Stay with me. 真夜中のドア叩き帰れないでと泣いた all the same. あの季節が今目の前 Stay with me 口癖. So all of this is the same. And the bit that I've left out here, stay with me. 寂しさ紛らわして So 寂しさ is loneliness, and 紛らわす is to distract myself from the loneliness, or ourselves from the loneliness. We don't know because it doesn't have the subject. 置いたレコードの針. So 置く is to place something. レコードの針 is a needle, so place the needle on the record. 同じメロディ the same melody ひっくり返してた So repeat the melody. So I've done that as stay with me, take my mind off how I get so damn lonely. I don't know, I thought I'd put in a bit of exclamation there with putting the damn, and take my mind off for magirawasu, and put the needle on that record, play that melody over and over and over on repeat. That's how we've done that, and that's pretty much it for my translation. There's this line that I've also left out. Mada wasurezu atatameteta. So atatameru is to heat something up or warm up. So I still haven't forgotten. We don't know who or what or anything about what's being warmed up, but you can assume that it's something like I still can't forget how you made me feel so warm, or something like that. And that's pretty much how I translated it. So it's not 100% literal translation, but you know, a literal translation that you can sing is probably going to suck. So it's kind of my interpretation of it. Hope you found that useful.